Listen well, brother.
I'm listening.
If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
There can be only one.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Greetings, one and all, and welcome to this special review of in theaters only Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Complete. We went and saw the movie last night. Absolutely crazy. And we got some special information about Remake and Rebirth that nobody wants you to know. Yeah, that's right. We're going to break down this morning. I've got a special guest with me this morning. He is the little clone of Culture Casino, the Culture Casino Jr. What is up, Ironcaster? How are you doing this morning, my friend?
Well, you see, here's the thing. No, guys, I have to apologize. I was holding us up before the show. You know, I had a case of the geostigma. We had to go heal up real quick.
Yeah. So it's good to see everybody here. Go ahead.
Like it's just a good little time right now. Like we're eating good with Final Fantasy right now. Like, and not just the FF7 which is fantastic. It is the engine that could. It is like the invisible like fourth leg of the Square Enix company is just this one brand alone. This one game series alone.
Shellback TJC asked, "Where's Charlie?"
I think he's around here somewhere. Maybe he'll pop up during the show.
I will never be a memory. God, I hated Kadash. Okay, so Here's the deal. Before the movie started, we got some awesome, crazy info. You know how we're always talking about why didn't they go to the source material? Why don't they respect things from the past? Why don't they incorporate other forms of media and projects? Well, let me tell you something. We heard from the devs last night. We heard from the masters. We heard from the people in charge over at Square Enix in Japan, mind you. And they stated Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth isn't just about the original Final Fantasy VII. They have incorporated all of the media from 7. That means, and they specifically stated this, the movie Advent Children Complete, the books about Final Fantasy VII, and all of the spin-off games have been incorporated into Remake, Rebirth, and what will most likely be known as Reunion for Part 3. And it has all been incorporated. This was also confirmed last night. This is not a remake. This is a continuation of the story. So all of us that have been theorizing and hypothesizing that this isn't just another remake. This is a continuation of the story. There's something going on here that's different. That is the truth. That was confirmed last night. And it makes me think of a line in Advent Children where Rufus says, even if we are stuck in a repeating cycle, we will stand and we will fight you. Talking to Kadaj about Sephiroth and Genova. Ooh, I got tingles.
Oh yeah, that's God. That's such a interesting. That's an interesting blend of things because for the longest time we were always kind of unsure like what the plan was going to be going forward, and I've always been kind of the theory that they've kind of not quite known which way they wanted to go ultimately, but it sounds like I'm being proven wrong. They actually might have a plan here.
They have a plan.
Okay.
I'm 100% sure after watching that intro last night in theaters, which guys, it was so good. It was so good. But I do have a little nitpick about quality, and I don't know if it was just the theater we went to, because we went to a really nice theater. It's the same theater we went to see Dune Part 1 in, and Dune Part 1 looked great. And I'm wondering if this is a limitation from when this movie was originally made. I have the 4K, and the 4K looked better. The 4K disc looked better than what I saw in theaters. Now, there's nothing like a first theatrical release of this version because the other version is missing so much. There's so much that was cut out of it. Over 20 minutes was cut out of the movie originally in theaters. And the complete version has everything that it was supposed to. So I'm happy with that. But it didn't look as good as the 4K version I have. So that was my only little nitpick.
Do you think it could be just like a bad? What do you think that could have been? Do you think they could have just been more so on the projector side, or do you think that's from what the theater was given?
It's either what the theater was given or it was the projector. That's the question. But you wouldn't think it would be the projector because they have movies there all the time. Why would they be showing a movie in like 1080p on a projector like that? Why would they do that? So either they were given a they were given a lower grade version of the film, or something was wrong with the. But I wasn't the only one who noticed that. Eris said that as soon as we came out of theater. She goes, it didn't look like it should have been. I said, well, it's a movie from the 2000s. It's a movie from the 2000s. So maybe it's just something held over from that. I mean, it's possible, but I don't know. I don't think they had as good of a quality copy of it.
So I did not go to the theater to see it. Unfortunately, my local like Cinemark that plays all the Fathom events chose to not play it this time around. So I had to weigh between driving an hour to the theater to watch it, and then an hour back home, or I could pick it up on like Vudu and kind of lay in bed.
Yeah,
which I did, and then the money I saved on gas I used to renew my subscription of FF14. So I'm I'm deep in the belly of the beast of the Final Fantasy franchise.
Yeah, usually, so when remake came out, it brought a lot of people back to being interested. I've got all the original games there. I have the where the hell do I have them? I've got the OG NES and Super NES still in boxes somewhere around here. I showed you this the other day.
Yeah.
That's the import from Japan. I'm a Final Fantasy nut. So I immediately got excited when I hear that they're going to update things. I have to have it.
What was your first Final Fantasy then?
Final Fantasy 2 on SNES, which was Final Fantasy 4 in Japan. So I went back and got the original on NES later.
For me, my first exposure to Final Fantasy was actually FF5. The PlayStation it was the Anthology
Chronicles, yeah, the Anthology, which again I've got
Anthology Chronicles. It's one of the two, and it was I'd say it had to be that kind of mid 2000s summertime. I was basically being babysat at the time, and I got to that's it. And there's FF4 and Chronicles or Chrono Trigger.
Final Fantasy 1 and 2.
I've got mine almost within reach. There's nothing quite like this franchise. And it's become the gold standard by which every other RPG has basically been held.
There you go. That's
There we go.
So I'm so crazy about this shit that I've got these, which are the black labels. These are the original ones. And then I've got the green labels too. Because I just had to have them.
So
that's how crazy a nut I can get when it comes to Final Fantasy.
I think the last time I went on the Square Enix web shop, you were still able to buy those PS1 editions of the greatest hits. They still have those in print. They still have those in stock.
Yeah, the green labels are still in stock in some places. You can get them for $30-$40. So I don't know how many of those they made. I'm pretty sure they made a bunch of them for them to still be in stock, but yeah, it's crazy. Fair though, that's a shame because Return is my favorite Star Wars film. What about Return? Oh, okay. The 4K versions tend to enhance the quality. Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Okay.
It is. It's already out. Gun Buddy, you can already get it. Heck, I've got a copy. I've got a Blu-ray and a 4K. So I've got the original Blu-ray when it first came out on Blu-ray, and then when I found it on 4K, I had to have it. Snowed Up, what is up? Tuck and roll, brother. He said my Final Fantasy would be Jennifer Connelly. That's not the kind of Final Fantasy we're talking about. We're talking about the game's Final Fantasy.
We're trying to talk about all these little Japanese e-boys with like spiky hair and oversized like combat boots and swords bigger than they are.
Yeah.
In fact, we should
What's
have
up?
gone and spiked my hair for this.
Nerds. The little green goblin. Snacks and friends. Nerds. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Punk Waddle, how are you doing? Snowed Up's here. Damn, it's like half the connections here. Gentlemen.
No. I don't. We need to. There needs to be like a. I want to see them all as classes. Like that'd be kind of fun to try to figure out. Like what would Punk Waddle be? He'd be a machinist or something.
I don't know. He's a sheriff, so
maybe a paladin.
Maybe a paladin, or if you're in like steampunk era, he'd be like a sheriff. He'd have a revolver. He'd be a gunslinger.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You could totally do that. If we're in steampunk era, he could have a pistol or something. I shot the sheriff. Okay, so let's get into this. Let me pull this up real quick. Sorry, I didn't have it pulled up before. It's been a crazy morning. We're going to get to that tomorrow. We're going to talk about what happened last night after Loki got back from the movie, because Loki got a very interesting email from Google. Let's see.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab those my little Final Fantasy art I was showing you the other day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Show it off, dude. Oh my God, I can't believe I've got to log into this. There we go. I've got to get back to this. Please wait. Please wait. Okay, we'll wait and we'll talk while we're doing this. We'll look at some. Antifa minus the Italian Senate. Yeah. We're not gonna. Yeah. Tifa kicks ass. Tifa kicks absolute ass in this movie. You can't tell me otherwise in any way, shape, or form. And it's interesting. So another little tidbit I looked at. This is kind of like this whole thing's going to be kind of like Final Fantasy 17, right? If you add this up, you've got at the beginning of the movie, you've got Red 13, 496 years in the future. In the beginning of the movie. That's the way the movie starts. Is Red 13 and his cubs or his grand cubs? We don't know. It's been almost 500 years later, running up this hill, and then you see Midgard. You see where they start the game in Final Fantasy. And it's all covered in brush and grass and green and vines. It's been completely overgrown. Showing that the planet 500 years later has healed from what happened. But 2 years after that is when the events of Advent Children happen. So if you take 2 years away from 496, it's 494. Add that up and it's 17. Are they just throwing us a thing here? Is that why they numbered it the way they did? We don't know. We have no idea. So the fact that we've gotten, hey y'all with the fan, oh my word, my gentle Georgia, it's Arwen
Hey.
Avalon.
Hey, Arwen. Long time no see.
So give me just a second. Let me get this saved, and then we'll pull this up.
So while you do
Go
that,
ahead.
I'll show off one of these. So these are a couple little art pieces I picked up that, in almost a roundabout way, these are, you're probably looking at this thinking, well, Caster, why are you showing me? This is clearly Legend of Zelda. But it's like, no. That's these are some of those title card art pieces. It's a bit of a crossover from Zelda and Final Fantasy. This is the Final Fantasy VII one, just done up as Majora's Mask. So I've got about 4 of these.
Show them.
Which they are themselves these callbacks between a couple of games. So we have the Final Fantasy 13 one connected to Link's Awakening. They are absolutely beautiful pieces. The minute I saw them up, the minute I saw them, I had to pick them up. I think I paid $50 for the lot of 4 of them. Oh, this one always throws me off because I think it's supposed to be 10. Final Fantasy 10 connecting to it's got to be Ocarina of Time. And then last but not least, we have
It's my favorite. It's 8. It's 8 because that's supposed to be Squall and Renoa. That's Squall catching Renoa. So it's supposed to be 8. That's one of my favorites.
And yeah, they're beautiful pieces. They're fairly simplistic. I saw them. I had to have them. And any chance I can get to kind of bring them up and talk about them and show off, one little neat piece from my room here. I'm going to. But that's a little contribution.
Okay, let me get this pulled up real quick, and we will start my cameo. I didn't want to look like a bozo messing with the. All right. So let's make sure that. Yeah, we can see it. Okay. So let's go through this. That is the initial opening. There's Midgard, completely covered in vegetation with Red 13 and the cubs. We don't know if these are his kids. We don't know if these are his grandkids, his great-grandkids, his great-great-grandkids. We have no idea because we've never explored that. But wouldn't it be interesting if 494 represented Final Fantasy 17, and this was the world that we were in?
I mean,
is Red 13's future world 500 years later.
And it's funny how right now that's sort of the perfect number to be at for the franchise, because we just got 16. Well, and at some point they are going to have to talk about 7. They're going to have to talk about 17. Well, hey, here's a little numerology to bring up and show off a whole new but very familiar world to explore.
So we've got,
and by the way, I have never seen that better looking than in 4K. Like I was laying in bed last night and my jaw hit the floor when I saw just all the green from the overgrown Midgard.
Of course, we all know who this is. 2 years. This is 2 years after the events of Final Fantasy VII and whatever the last disc of the new trilogy will be. Yes, this is all incorporated. They're not getting rid of any of the content and they are incorporating it into the remake project. So remake, rebirth, what we assume is going to be reunion at the end has incorporated all of the media, the books, the spin-off games, the original games. Everything has been incorporated into the new story. That is why we have seen some differences between the original game and this game. They talked about that last night. They confirmed it before the movie started. They confirmed that all of this has been incorporated. We didn't just take the game. We didn't just take the game. We didn't just take this movie. We incorporated everything from the books to the spin-off games, everything we had access to. We are incorporating that into remake, rebirth, and reunion, if it's called reunion. So, good morning, Mags. Yes, someone said Final Fantasy.
Shut it down. She showed up.
She showed up. So we all know who that is. And this is, let's see if I can get it.
Well, we are seeing a little bit of ramifications with this as well to address. There's been a growing disease that's been popping up all over Midgard from the after effects of the game.
So what does this represent? This is Zack's. So for those of you who never figured this out, the wolf is Zack. Zack was called the Black Wolf. That wolf is Zack. That's like the spirit form of Zack on the planet. You will see Zack later. We know Zack from the original Final Fantasy. We know about Zack from Remake and Rebirth. We're going to get a lot more information about Zack in Rebirth. But there's Zack's sword. This is the original Cloud Sword, the Buster Sword. And there is Zack's in wolf form. The puppy. Yeah. Zack was also called the puppy. How do you know this, Loki? Because the wolf disappears, literally disappears, vanishes at the end of the movie. The wolf is standing there. You can see the wolf, and then it moves by a person, and the wolf's gone. And then you see Aerith and Zack's. So we'll show that here in a minute. We'll get to that. But this is absolutely badass. This is Midgar, 2 years after the last events of Final Fantasy VII. And yes, it will connect to Remake, Rebirth, and more. And there, of course, is the title sequence. And Cloud.
I was so impressed here. Again, watching the 4K, the reflection of the clouds rolling by off the curvature of the motorcycle. Like it is so impressive just how good the visuals are in this.
And most of this was made in 2004. A lot of the work was done in 2004. It was released in 2005. So
was this done by the Final Fantasy movie studio, or
yes, this was done by the Sony Final Fantasy movie studio. Yeah.
Okay. Because I knew they basically only worked on about 2 or 3 projects. That was this Advent. They did this. They did Spirits Within, and they worked on the Animatrix.
I'm still kind of blown away. I'm gonna pop this down for a minute. I'm still kind of blown away because we've asked for this with our content over and over and over again. Why have you not incorporated this? Why have you not honored what they did here? Why are you erasing this? Why are you forgetting about this? They haven't forgot about anything. They're incorporating everything into Remake and Rebirth and Reunion. So I'm losing my shit here. This is exactly what we want from our content. why can't Western developers understand that and honor that and love that when the Japanese are like, we went out of our way to go over everything that's come out and incorporate all of it into our 3 games. That's absolutely outstanding.
Well, one of the other things in particular is of all the Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy franchise is extremely protected by Square Enix. But of all the games, like Square has effectively 2 pillars to hold up the entire company. It is FF7 and FF14.
You were telling me before we went live that they're introducing boss battles and raids into Final Fantasy 14 from other games.
Right. So you can go into I think an 8-man dungeon, an 8-man raid where you are fighting Kefka as a boss. There is a similar one for X-Death. The Cloud of Darkness from Final Fantasy 3 is a 24-man raid.
That's crazy. No, that's absolutely crazy.
And the best part for the as the meme went was just how insanely great of a deal the free trial of that game is, because you're not just getting the base game, you're getting the first 2 expansion packs and all of their content and update patches for free.
For free.
You make one character, all you have to do is swap out your weapon. You're now playing a different class. You're going to go from, I'm going to be a white mage now. Okay, I'm going to split this down. I want to go be a dragoon. I want to go be a gunbuster. You have all these options available.
So Ghost Rider says, I know Cloud, Tippa, Vincent, and Sephiroth. That's the extent of my knowledge. Eris hadn't met Vincent yet and immediately was like hard eyes for Vincent. I had to tell her about Vincent's backstory. And she goes, okay, his character totally makes sense now. And I'm like, well, yeah. But she immediately was like, who is that? I'm like, that's Vincent.
Did you set her down with a copy of Dirge of Cerberus?
No, not yet. We'll play through Dirge of Cerberus. Once she finds out, oh my God, he's got a whole game based on just him. And Dirge of Cerberus too is already part, because we've already fought Weiss. So Weiss is in Integrade. Who would have seen that coming? So they've already started to incorporate side games into Remake and Rebirth, and it'll be even more prominent in this game. So I've lost my mind. I'm losing my shit. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Shockwave says Dirge of Cerberus is the only one he hasn't finished. I only got through it once. So I only played through it once. I've got it back there on my PS2 shelf. But
it's one of the games I have not touched. I've put way more hours into like the PSP Crisis Core than I have like, I think even like FF7. Like I've spent way more time in Crisis Core.
Yeah. A lot of people are going to tell you 6. I would start playing Remake. If you've never played him before, I would start playing Remake and go from there. If you want to play some of the other ones, it's totally up to you. I know you have a PS5. Get Remake for PS5. Make sure you get the PS5 version. PS4 version's okay, but the PS5 version's better because you get the integrated stuff with Yuffie and all that. So I would go with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Play that one first. If you're really into this and you have extra time, play through 4. Play through. You can get those on your iOS. You can get those on your phone. Play through 6. A lot of people don't like the phone versions. Eris started playing the phone versions and loves the phone versions. So
those pixel perfect remasters are beautiful.
Yeah.
And these are just remaking old like 80s and 90s sprite games.
Yep. The pixel perfect remake of 1, 2, and 3 are insane. However, the PSP version all the way for Final Fantasy IV. So the PSP version, which, yeah. Yes.
I missed my copy.
Has the After Years, and this is the only one that has interlude. So you've got interlude on here. So you've got Final Fantasy IV, you have Final Fantasy IV interlude, and then you have Final Fantasy IV the After Years. But the way they made everything look, and the upgrade to the graphics, and the upgrade to the sprites, and how smooth everything is, and the summons, holy crap, man! When you summon in this, it is an experience. None of the other ones are like that. The Pixel Remaster, not as good as this. Not as good as this. Can you play this on anything else? Not unless you have a computer. Not unless you know. But if you own it, it's legal to do it. So,
see, that's one of the things I like is when they add in extra material. So, for example, with Final Fantasies, like I think 5 and 6, for example, or 1, 2, 5, and 6, the Game Boy Advance versions tend to be my go-to versions of those.
Yeah,
because they add in extra dungeons, extra classes, extra story.
That's what's in the PSP version too. So in 4, when you're on the moon and there's the extra dungeon, it's there in this version. The problem with the Game Boy Advance version is the sound, but you can get, if you own it and you play it on your computer, you can get a patch that corrects all the missteps in the audio, because that was the thing. They didn't have enough room on those cartridges to put the really good audio on there. So they're all compressed, toned down tracks. You can fix that on your PC. There are patches out there that you can.
Which is a shame, because some of the remakes and remasters of those soundtracks are beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. So absolutely freaking beautiful. We've got Final Fantasy nuts. We've got Final Fantasy nuts out there. I'm a Final Fantasy nut. I love Final Fantasy. Magitech Max says, I hate Game Boy Advance versions of any of them, especially 6. The remasters are far superior. Unfortunately, they never did 6 on the PSP. I wish they did. I really wish they had. The best version of the 6 is going to be in the Pixel Perfect remasters. So there's another version that came out on Steam that has a huge fan patch you can do to it. I have that version, and I have the fan patch. Some of the graphics on that are superior, but the gameplay is superior for the Pixel Perfect remasters. So I tend to go with the Pixel Perfect remaster for 6. Why is this so complicated? You have to understand that these games are so popular that they're not just on their original system. So the SNES had the original Final Fantasy VI. We've had advanced versions. We've had re-releases on Steam, on phones, on other systems, and then we've had the Pixel Perfect remasters. There are multiple versions of these games that are different, that look different, that play different, that have different difficulties. You've had remakes. Final Fantasy IV, which was 2 in America, which is the one with Cecil and Rosa, which was my first introduction to Final Fantasy. You've got that. You've got the Game Boy Advanced. You have the PSP complete releases, which is what I've got over there. You've got the Game Boy Advanced releases. You've got iOS releases. You have a remake that was done for Nintendo DS and later released on Steam. That's 5 versions of a game.
It's
and then the 6 with the Pixel Perfect remaster. So 6 versions of one game that came out on the SNES in the early 90s.
It's something to think about when we realize like there are remakes of these games that have kind of fallen off technologically speaking, that there are versions of these games you just cannot access because we've advanced the technology enough.
And this right here, PlayStation had 6 with cinematics added in. That's right. And they had this weird swirl. One of the things that kills me about the PlayStation games, that you actually, if you run it on PC, you can patch this out, is this long thing that happens before you go into battle. I just want to be like, dun, 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 and immediately go into battle. I don't want to watch this swirl for 15 seconds before battle starts. It's like, God, every time it drags. It drags. And it's something that the original conversion crew for PlayStation just didn't think about. So when you go into the battle, it's like you're just hanging there and you're like, ugh, come on, okay. And if you're getting in a lot of battles and you're grinding, it drives you insane. It literally drives you insane. So that's another edition. So that was seven different editions of Final Fantasy IV. That's crazy. That is absolutely nuts.
Did they also release it on like the Wonder Swan?
Yes. So that's eight different versions. 8 different versions of the game. Magitech Mags with $5 super chat. There are mods of Final Fantasy VI that are intriguing. Along with fans of these games create mods to continue the story or add more to it, makes me giddy. And in a good way, because they've respected the original IP. And you can tell when they haven't. It's absolutely maddening when the fans treat the characters and the content better than the people behind the game. Why do we love these characters so much?
I mean, they're such human characters at the end of the day. Their struggles are real enough that we look at them and we see them in ourselves. Seeing these questions and struggles around learning to accept death, for example, with FF7. Moving on. Moving forward.
Yeah. And thank you, Max, for your $5 super chat. You guys keep the fires burning bright here in Valhalla. And this one is just for you, Max. We're going to give you a little toxic femininity this morning. Skull! So Zed Hero says, wouldn't Final Fantasy 20 or 10 through 20 be an oxymoron? Oh my God. But hello.
Really? Now you decide to show up? Well, yeah. Someone is asking for me. Okay, you can. Yes, you've made yourself present, but we're talking about Final Fantasy. Oh, I know those. You do. How do you play them? Okay, yeah. Go be sad somewhere else. Go. Shoot.
All right. He didn't know how he plays them.
He doesn't have hands.
So Zed Hero says, wouldn't Final Fantasy 10 through 20 be an oxymoron? They originally called it Final Fantasy because the studio was going bankrupt, and this was going to be their last game. The game did so well that it pulled them out of bankruptcy, and they were able to. And this was SquareSoft, not Square Enix. This was SquareSoft, and they were able to go on to make more games. So they made two more Final Fantasy games on NES, and then switched over to Final Fantasy IV on the SNES. So, who's really the puppet?
Well, I think
whose hand is up whose ass? I think that's what he's asking.
It's the one with the hand up their ass. But I'll leave it to the audience to decide where the hand's going.
Ensign Ricky says, I'm playing 1 through 6 again right now. I'm on Final Fantasy IV. So I started playing through the original 7 with all of the high def Nobu textures and all that. So the characters look like, they just got it, like this was just made. So the only thing that doesn't look like that is the cutscenes, but those have all been enhanced to 1080p and to run at 60 frames per second. So basically it's a 60 frame per second update, along with better textures, 4K assets, things that they couldn't do back then. So everything looks shiny.
You'll have to cue me in on this because I want to find out about that. I want to go replay through FF7, and I want to find like the best looking version of the original game I can.
Shellback says, Loki, Ironcaster, do you have a favorite class of character to play? Is it a specific type or is it a multi-class type?
So for the Final Fantasy franchise, I tend to prefer the games where you do get jobs and classes to switch between. So that would be 3 and 5, Tactics, 14. And as far as those all go, I've always been drawn towards the Red Mage. I just love the ability to be able to sort of do a little bit of everything, but you may not be the best. I want to be able to have some basic healing at my disposal. I want to be able to cast Fire, maybe even Firaga. I want to be able to have the rapier and be able to fight in melee. I want to be able to do it all.
Summoner. So there's a scene. There's a summons you can do in 10 in X where you call Ifrit. And Ifrit comes up out of the ground in a fireball and has his summoner and he's holding onto her on his shoulder. And when he lands, he puts her down and he's like, oh! And you're like, holy shit, that is badass. Yes. So the summoner class is my favorite, and I probably always will be because of what they can do. Rydia is one of my favorite characters of all time from Final Fantasy IV. Her story is absolutely badass. The fact that basically you kill her mother, even though you don't know you do that, you murder her mother at the beginning of the game. You have no idea because all you did was fight this dragon, this mist dragon. Well, that's her summoned dragon. So because you defeated it and destroyed it, it killed her. And she's like, you're the one who beat my mom's dragon. You killed my mom. And then she becomes part of the team eventually. And she's just like a little kid. By the time you're done with the game, she's an adult. I think she's 18. But super freaking powerful. One of the most powerful characters in the game. Not as far as like life and point damage, but she can call meteor. She's the only member of the party that can call meteor, and she can summon Bahamut and the rest of the summons. So
as far as favorite characters, like there are just a number in FF14 that I've come to really love. And there are some really touching moments in that game where, you know, you have these characters who you've come to really know and become like best friends with, who you lose along the way. And it is just heart-wrenching in so many ways, similar to Aerith. Whereas you might have had that is a different hurt, but because, you know, you've got that little crush on her, but then you kind of lose her along the way. But then you have your bros who you're like, yeah, we're gonna fight, we're gonna be best friends, and then he sacrificed himself for you, and it still hurts.
Yeah. And recently played through 16. That was a great game. You know what? When they said, oh, we're gonna make a Game of Thrones Final Fantasy, I said, it's totally different hearing it than it is playing it. They didn't copy Game of Thrones. They let loose as far as what type of game. This is an 18 plus game, period. End of discussion. You've never seen a 18 plus Final Fantasy game. This is an 18. You deal with all sorts of adult themes. It is an adult Final Fantasy game, period. That's what it is. Some people are going to be like, it shouldn't be. Final Fantasy games have always been this or that. It has its place. It's its own entity in the series. Just like every other game has been its own entity. It might have spin-offs. It might have sequels. Might have whatever, but it's its own entity. This is its own entity and has its own place in Final Fantasy. Yeah, see, and Mags is absolutely right. Yoshi P is trying to right the ship.
Yoshi P is the savior of Final Fantasy right now. This man took and made 14 like the GOAT of all MMOs, especially because like it was hit at a right time, right when WoW was at a particularly low point mid pandemic, and then people were looking over here and like, well, this has a literal mountain of content. And Loki, one last little thing just to try to sell you on 14. You fight Knights of the Round.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It is one of the most amazing battles. Beautiful. You know, starts off you start fighting the King Arthur stand-in, and then they start coming in one by one. And then once you think you've defeated them all, nope. Then they all come in at the same time. So now you have like a dozen of these guys to fight, all you and your like seven raid buddies all fighting this together. You have this big swelling orchestra of soundtrack for the music building up. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is cinematic.
That is the first I've heard of that. That would be, I don't know about that. I don't know what to say about that. I don't use a camera on my PS5. Should I use a camera when I do my Final Fantasy VII Rebirth playthrough?
Well, Loki, clearly when they kill Aerith, they want to be able to record everyone's reactions.
Those comments, Dash Attack, at the beginning of the movie, in the theater, was shocking. They pretty much admitted what we've all believed, that this is not a true remake, that this is a continuation, this is a sequel. They pretty much confirmed that. And the fact that everything else has been incorporated into it, all the media, all the books, all the spin-off games, everything that has to do with Final Fantasy VII has been incorporated into what they are working on. Final Fantasy 14 is fun. I could never get into it. And I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I get pissy when people get pissy in online stuff. So when someone gets pissy, usually I'm not the kindest soul when someone gets bitchy and pissy about something in online. Because I'm there to have fun and enjoy myself. And if I'm in a raid party and someone's bitching and moaning and blah 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 blah, blah I absolutely hate that. It sucks. It ruins the experience for me.
One credit I want to give to the player base for 14. It is one of the nicest MMO like player bases I've seen in a game. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people like, giving me, words of encouragement in game. The first day I'm coming back to the game, and I've just kind of completely forgotten about like, oh, I got to re-equip this jobstone. So I'm not even playing the full like white mage. I'm playing the sort of B4 class, the conjurer. And I'm in this big like level 50 raid with like 23 other people. No one complained about the fact that I wasn't like playing at my maximum ability. They were like, hey, no, that's no problem. We're going to pull through this anyway.
See, that's amazing. I don't know. I'm there to have fun. And when we did, me and Josh used to run a online game group called SSO. Why did we call it SSO? Because at SSO, we make it so Starfleet Special Operations when we were still playing Star Trek Online. Our entire point was to give people the ability to get through all of the in-game content and give them the skill to do it solo and to teach other people and to show them all the ways you can do it. It was about pulling back the stigma of, oh my God, this is so hard and I don't want to work with other people because I'm going to end up doing a rando group and people are going to be crappy. So the whole idea was, we're going to teach you how to get through it to where even if you have a bad group that's not pulling their weight, you can still win. Even on the elite difficulty levels, even on the top elite difficulty levels. Why? Because a lot of the stigma of, oh, I don't want to go into the elites and play because I'm going to end up with a bad group or a bunch of randos that, don't want to pull their own weight. You don't have to worry about that anymore. And we were really successful. We were very, very successful at it. I remember when Josh came on board, I was like, I'm going to teach you how to do this with just 2 people. He goes, that's not possible. I said, oh, yeah, it is. You're going to go this way and I'm going to go this way. And we're going to pull them in the middle. And it was crazy and it was fun. And I just don't like people that are shitty in online games. It's not my bag. I'm there to have fun. I'm there to enjoy myself. I'm not there to fight with people or do stupid bullshit like that.
Wait, weren't we supposed to talk about Advent Children?
We were. And we've ended up talking about every Final Fantasy game. So it's good. Watch the movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. Watch the movie. Even if you haven't played the game, it's still worth watching.
It tells a good enough story that where you don't necessarily have to have played them to be able to enjoy it. There might be some questions about like, well, what's up with this little like cat thing on the big fuzzy like stuffed animal? But they're so short that you just easy to kind of blink and miss it and forget it.
Don't tell Scotty. Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know. Don't tell Scotty. Got to be one of Matt Damon's best cameos in a movie ever. Was that freaking movie where he sings "Scotty doesn't know." Don't tell Scotty. Scotty doesn't know. Ironcaster, Warrior, Machinist, Red Mage are my strongest. When I get Shadowbringer, I'm switching to Reaper.
Oh, wow! You're not even in the last expansions. You still have a ways to go. For myself, like I was a Bard main, and I've been swapping over to White Mage.
So I want to thank Magitech Mags for $2 super chat. Thank you, Shockwave, for your member chat. You guys keep the fires burning bright here in Valhalla, and this one's just for you. Skull!
A dollar? I've never seen a dollar. Nobody's got a dollar. Let us see the dollar. There it is. It's beautiful. Take your hat off, boy. That's a dollar bill.
Take your hat off, boy. That's a dollar bill. Ironcaster, what do you got coming up, my friend?
Well, let's see. Friday, I'll be on with 32 Flares and Nick Weiser for the Friday Night Comic Shop Talk, where we are delving into the Chris Claremont and Frank Miller Wolverine comic. Nice. The Wolverine comic that wound up launching him as like as a standout character from the bigger team roster.
Nice. Yeah.
And then of course on Mondays I'll be on my channel for the Mech Pit Talk. We are talking about all kinds of big robot stuff and Super Sentai and Tokusatsu and Godzilla and who knows what other stuff. But I'm thinking maybe this week, because I'm in the mood for it, we'll talk some Final Fantasy.
Tuesday. Halo. It's not even Halo. I don't know why we call it Halo. Not Halo. We got to do not Halo on Talk Hard.
Hollow. It's Hollow.
Hollow. Yeah, Hollow. So, guys, tomorrow we're going to start the show off with an interesting topic. Google threatened to delete my account because someone may have hacked into it. Before you put forth this notification letting us know that something has happened with your account, just know we may delete everything and you'll have to start from scratch. Isn't that great that when you ask for help, they come at you like, well, if something is wrong, you just have to delete it and start over. So you have to agree to that before you put in your request for help, that they can delete everything. And yeah. So I got an email. We're going to go over it tomorrow. I got an email last night after we got back from the movie saying that my payments through AdSense had been changed, which they were not. I contacted Google support. They said it was an authentic email. They said someone may have hacked into your account. Fill out this form, and at the bottom of the form, guess what it says? Well, we may have to delete everything. You might have to start over. So we're going to go over that tomorrow. I'll show the emails. I will show the conversation I had with Google support in writing tomorrow. Guys, take care. Be excellent to each other. Always speak friend honor. And don't forget to watch Mocking Draws this morning over on his channel. It's going to redirect you guys there in just a second. Have a great Thursday, everybody. And we'll catch you later.
Take care.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.